All right, we are up. Told you I'd do this. I promised. I said we were gonna have an impromptu live stream. Wondered if I could even get that going out here, but surprisingly, internet connectivity is pretty good out here. All right, it's one of my favorite spots here along the Illinois River here in Peoria Lake. Hey, we got people. What's happening, bears? Oh, I didn't bring the drum kit to the to the canoe. Yeah, it's a little different than that, man. But I do have the Didgeridoo. Hey, Andrew. Good to see you, man. Yep, we are out in Peoria Lake here on the Illinois River. And I don't know if it can be seen behind me. It will be in a minute, maybe here. If not, I'll just adjust the camera angle. There's the McClugage Bridge behind me on one of the main routes through Peoria. I better center this as best I can. I got this tripod doing things that it might not want to do. We'll see. We'll see if it doesn't totally fall over. This may not work at all. But I'm willing to try almost anything. Let me get away from over here and I'll fix it. Some guy was trying to fish over here and I don't want to bug him. So yeah, feel free to distribute this amongst bears in case they aren't getting the notifications like good old YouTube loves to not do. Please, Mr. YouTube, sir. Hey, we got some more folks coming and that's great. Hang on, I'll fix the camera angle, I swear. I just wanted to get moving forward a little bit here. Dude, you guys rock. See, and bears are awesome. There's things that I don't have automated. One day I will, where it just does that stuff and you guys won't have to worry about it. But while that's not the case, I'm very appreciative of everything that everybody does to make everybody's streams better. All right, so that's better. That's a better shot. You darn right, Brazil bear. Brazilian, pardon me. You know, it'd be really cool, Brazilian bear. I know it's totally like, I guess the left would say it's racist to assume, but it'd be, I don't assume it at all. I'm just saying it would be really cool if you knew, I can't think of the name of it now. I'm gonna forget the name of that martial art. That's all based around dancing. I used to know some of it, learned some of the techniques, and now I can't remember it worth a dime. There goes the jet ski. Those people were having a nice day. Capoeira, capoeira, thank you. I should know that. It'd be really cool if you knew capoeira and then you did like a capoeira stream. You know, you taught everybody how to kick butt. But then I think Crowder and some other people have talked about that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's somebody else. That capoeira is just like an inferior martial art. I don't know that that's the case. I'm just saying that's what I've heard some people suggest. I'm personally partial to, you know, various forms of kung fu. But then I'm sure Joe Rogan and others would say, yeah, that'll get your butt kicked in a New York minute, you know. But still, I would enjoy learning more about capoeira. I would enjoy learning more about the positive aspects of Brazilian culture. Because I know there's been a lot of negative talk about some things in Brazil. My dad's capoeira teacher made him Christian. Dude, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And I should say dudette. But Brazilian, that's wonderful. That's a great story. You know, it's so funny too. My martial arts teacher when I was studying Hung Gar Kung Fu, he was a devout believer himself. And he still is. He's still teaching around here. And he understands, hang on, I'm gonna have to come back to chat comments while I'm rowing. I can't keep up. But he understands the place of chi, you know, in a Christian sort of perspective. These people are gonna wanna go around me. I'll just do this. All right, I'll do that. I'll give them birth. Got boats coming and going. I'm trying to get into the channel a little bit and get on the other side. Having a blast over there. That's awesome. Yeah, you do feel a little sense of jealousy when you see, at least I do, people in these big old speedboats that don't have to be killing themselves just to move. But at the same time, I'm really thankful for that because I get exercise and I need some upper body exercise. I've got less than 2 weeks and I got to take an Air Force physical fitness exam. Test, whatever. I got to run 1.5 miles. I got to do a minute's worth of crunches and a minute's worth of push-ups. And they have to measure my waist to make sure it's all within standards. But the one thing that I've ever had really any difficulty with has always been the run. So I've been out running quite a bit in the last several weeks. And I was getting my 1/4 mile time. I was measuring that. I was having that down at about 1:45 for a couple of repeated ones, but I'd break in between. I appreciate that, Andrew. Thank you, man. No, I'm just figuring I'd do whatever I can to continue to build all those areas. Got to get the strength training. Tired watching me row. That's so great. Oh, no notification. Well, that's all. I did just put it up, and I don't have like that 30-minute warning thing yet, Debbie. But one of these days I'm going to get that figured out because I'm not like super internet savvy, super YouTube savvy. I know enough to be dangerous. That's about it. That's about all I do. So I'm going to try to remove this for a second. There you go. For those of you who hadn't seen yet, that's where I'm at. I'm just crossing the channel here, the narrower end of Peoria Lake, and trying to move up a little spot where there's a sandbar up here. I'm gonna chill for a minute and talk about the didgeridoo that I brought with me. Let's see here. I'm almost on the opposite side. It's okay, YouTube doesn't like you. That's why I got Well, if we have a bear in our name at this point, I'm pretty sure the Nazis. Hey, cool, Dom. Glad you stopped in for a minute. Yeah, I am having fun. I'm on the G2 shopping. G to G. Oh, got to go. I'm sorry. See, I'm old as fudge that I have to stop and translate. G to G. What? Yeah, gotta eat, man. Gotta get them groceries. You gonna go paleo like old Doc P and Owen? Love to you too, Dom. Good to see you, brother. Wrench life. Oh man. Yeah. Well, you know what? It's good exercise. It's great exercise, Debbie. My dad actually used to take my brothers and sister and myself out canoeing a whole bunch when we were kids in this very canoe. Like when my folks moved to Texas a few years back, Dad decided to give me the canoe that my mom bought him for his birthday years and years ago, and he just wasn't going to use it as much on his own, but he thought I would have an opportunity to make great memories with the kids doing this stuff. And you know, there are a lot of times where I did not want to go out with Dad. I was not into it in my teens. I was not digging it at all, and I regretted that. I got more into it a little bit, you know, as time went on there in my teens, but didn't have as much time to do it. And I definitely have had my kids go out and do it, and they whine a little bit at first, but they always enjoy it. They always have fun once they get out there, you know, and they've overcome certain fears and things like that a little bit. They've watched their confidence levels grow, and that's been the best. Got to watch the traffic while I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm out of the channel now, where the main barges and boats go. I loved it when I was a kid. Debbie says me and my mama used to row a boat. Well, see, that's good stuff. You know, one of my favorite drummers, as I've spoken of many times before, and I guarantee I'll speak of many times again, Neil Peart, drummer for Rush for, goodness, 40 odd years, close to 40 years. He said once in one of his instructional videos that danger plus survival equals fun. He was a motorcycle enthusiast himself and enjoyed, that and mountain biking and other fun activities. So he had that thought. And when you're out in a boat, there's an element of danger to it. Heck yeah, Neil Peart. Darn right, thumbs up. But yeah, when you share an experience that, if you're not working together, could go very wrong, I think that that's an opportunity to definitely build some worthwhile memories. Shared survival, it's a good thing. Oh, there's a huge barge that's about, a good 3/4 of a mile back, maybe less. But as long as I'm not in the channel, I'll be fine. See, that's the stuff you gotta watch for, though. They move slow as turtles, but I'm tiny. I'm just this little canoe. Well, gotta do it. Gotta do it. Gotta get that exercise. I was thinking about bringing one of the dogs with me. I've done that with all 3 of the dogs at different times. But I thought, you know what? I want to film a little bit. I want to chat with the bears. And have one too many things to pay attention to. It's gonna make it not so great. Who's that? Hey, Shade. Good to see you. Glad you could join us. Yep, we're just canoeing here. Drum is racist. Oh, is that true? You think so? Well, guess what? Bam! Got a wrench. You're a mod now. We need Brazilian modifications in here. Or moderators, excuse me. That's not what I meant to say. We need Brazilian moderators. I ain't gonna let that smack talk go on unchecked. I'm gonna make sure everybody's taken care of sooner or later. Now, as I've said to everybody else that comes through this stream, right? If a wrenching has to happen here, it'll happen here. I hope and pray we don't get to that point. But no, I'm all about letting people say what they want to say unchecked. It's totally cool. Yo, I'm brown. I missed it. I didn't get the joke. I'm not always reading the chat, so I miss things. And then, see, jokes aren't as funny when you have to explain it. Oh, did I not? I thought Shade had a wrench. I thought Shade done had it. Yeah, wait a minute. Shade, you're supposed to done had a wrench. You'll have to speak up. Add. There you go. Uh-huh. Thanks, Debbie, for letting me know. Now she's good to go. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I know. Oh, no. Everything's just going to crap now because I gave Shade a wrench. Oh, man. Well, let's see here. I'm almost to where I want to be. Oh, my dear word. What is that? You know, some of these people out here that do boating, because there's a lot of people in the Peoria area that are big boat enthusiasts. And when I say big boat, I mean big boat, right? Like, there are people that have legitimate yachts and stuff in this area. And we live really close to a place where people dock their yachts regularly. So there's this massive boat that's not a barge. It's just a regular privately owned yacht coming down the way from upriver. They're heading downriver. I'm heading upstream right now. So, hey, Vet Bear's in here too. How does Vet Bear not have a wrench? That's an oversight on my part. That should have done happened a while ago. But it's done happened now. Everybody will be wrenched. You wrenched people. Oh, you know what? I'm wondering if that's not a yacht, if that's like Coast Guard, the local Coast Guard. Because that looks more like one of their boats. From further back, it looks just huge. Large boat. but it's actually not that big. Let's see here. Hey, Steve. Just doing a little paddling down the Illinois here. Howdy. Oh, that's a private. That's a private. That's one of the more modest yachts. I've seen ones that are double that size. It's like people have boats that are basically RVs. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, we're almost to the spot I was trying to get to. It's just around the bend here. But when I say just around the bend, it's like I'm going half a mile, maybe. And that takes some doing. So, let me get, oh yeah, see now I'm getting wake from that boat. And when I get wake, I have to make sure I stay fairly perpendicular, right? Fairly 90 degree to some of that wake, because the waves that it generates are pretty big. And if I don't, then I'm getting knocked around by these big wake waves. That's not fun. And it's not like it's a private channel or something, so they don't have any no wake zone around here. You just got to deal with it when you're a canoeist. Is that a word? I just made it a word. Let's see here. Let's move just a little further up here. So, was it Mama or Debbie? I can't remember who asked me. Maybe it was Shane. I can't remember. Somebody asked me in yesterday's stream about Andrea Yates. When I was talking about my kids, you'd have to send the Coast Guard to get me. Oh, cool, Matt. That's awesome. Enjoy that baseball. That's a good activity. You and the wife, huh? That's a good way to spend the day, or is it just you? You just going out on your own? Let's see here. Man. This shot, people could figure maybe I'm just green screening everything. You know, there's no background. Who knows what I'm really doing? There we go. So, harder to see my face this way, but you can see more of the scenery. And that's probably better to look at than just my mug with the sky in the background. It wasn't you, Debbie? Okay, it must have been either Mama or Shade. I can't remember who asked me about this, Andrea Yates, about this. And so I had to research it. I had to find out, because I did not know who Andrea Yates was. I was talking about my kids and how, yeah, there were a lot of moments that were pretty frustrating. I did make some references to Cain, you know, and how God talked to Cain in the Bible. Like, hey, you know, if you just do what you're told, you do the right thing, you're gonna have it go well with you. You're gonna be accepted, man. You know, and I want to do it was kind of the message there. God obviously wanted things he said were good for him, right? And I'm the same way. I want my kids to do the things that I tell them are good for them. But Cain had other ideas and whacked his brother, which wasn't good. So, yeah, somebody said to me, what's your thoughts on Andrea Yates? So I looked this lady up, and I did it right before I was getting ready to go to sleep. Maybe that was a bad time. I don't know. I was massively disturbed within about 2 minutes of turning this on. Andrea Yates was, by all accounts, a fairly normal individual, great mother of 5, and she drowned all 5 of her children, her young children under 8, I want to say, in a bathtub. Yes, it was pretty intense. And, you know, like they showed video of her talking about it and things like that, and talked about her like eyes having almost no pupil. They did medically conclude, or I guess evidentially conclude through various means, that she was aware of her action. She was aware of right from wrong, but she was motivated by, I guess, the preachings from some particular gentleman who was some kind of a minister of, I don't know what kind of outlier Christian organization. I'm going to say outlier because if somehow she got an idea that killing her children would keep them out of hell, that's definitely what I would have to call an outlier Christian organization that would give her that kind of mentality. Although people misinterpret people that are well-intentioned all the time. I don't know what the conditions of her mental state were. I think they were suggesting postpartum psychosis, not just depression, but psychosis was an issue she had. But that was so, I've seen and heard plenty of grisly things. I've seen videos of fundamentalist Islamic terror groups executing people by beheading with a rusty knife. It's pretty gruesome stuff that I've been able to see. I have seen, and still there are people that have seen far grislier things than I could ever imagine. But just hearing about that turned my stomach like immediately. It was like, wow. So it got me thinking too about, I wonder if whoever it was that was suggesting I check that out was listening to some of the musings I had about the trip home with the kids, and maybe thinking back to what Uncensored Christian had talked about from some of Dr. Peterson's recent lectures. Is like, if you'd have lived in Nazi Germany, the probability is you would have been a Nazi and you would have enjoyed it. You would have probably gone right along with that, because it would have been the path of least resistance for you in a lot of ways. I wonder if the suggestion would be, could that happen to somebody like myself? Could someone like me, an everyday average individual that happens to be of maybe a religious background, or maybe you're not of a religious background, whatever the case may be, could you suddenly snap and then justify killing innocents, thinking you're somehow doing good? Well, it's something that I think I would have to ponder on for a long time. My immediate gut instinct is absolutely not, hell no. Because even just hearing about it turns my stomach and offends my sensibilities. But I wonder if the deeper question is if the circumstances were set just right to push someone in that direction. Could a normal, everyday, average person, well-adjusted individual be pushed to doing things like that? And I'd have to admit, well, the realm of possibility in this world is so vast, and there's so many things I don't know, right? What I do know, after learning about individuals like that, and she's certainly not the first, disturbed person that I've heard of by any means, but I've heard plenty of cases like that. It's just that, I don't know, something about that, like to be able to take your children one after another and go and not just like drive them into a lake or something, or poison them, or who knows what, but to drown them. Like, you have to be engaged in the action for a considerable amount of time, and then to repeat it over and over again. It's like, dear Lord in heaven, like my grandfather used to say, save us from ourselves. That's just a horrific thing to consider, that the human mind could ever accept that that's an okay thing to do. And I don't know, I feel good in a sense, knowing that I feel sickness in my stomach just hearing about that woman. But I think it is a disturbing thought to consider that someone could ever be pushed to that edge. And so the thing that really hits home to me is, keep yourself focused on why you are here. I've said it before. In one of my first videos, I talked about my teaching philosophy. And in my teaching philosophy that I give to all of my students, my music students, I say, you need to learn how to grow mentally, physically, right? In terms of spiritual growth or purpose, right? Why you're doing what you're doing. And then relationally, growing in your ability to communicate and interact with others, your bandmates and your audience, right? All of that's super important. But I take all that from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 52, when it says that Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature, in favor with God and man. He grew in those 4 areas. So I figure it's just a vessel or a vehicle, doing it through music, to help encourage people to grow in their lives in all of those areas. You know, I want people, including myself first, because if I'm not growing that way, how can I expect others to, right? But when I think about all that, I think about how massively important it is, I think, to have all of that flow outward from your purpose. Excuse me, I'm going through puberty here all of a sudden. Your purpose, the spiritual side of it, I think, has to be the seed of everything else. Because if your purpose is clear, it's so interesting that I end up talking about this again, because I just was talking about this with a student yesterday, and they're having some struggle, like getting motivation to really practice and dig in and get a hold of certain principles in their playing. And I was suggested to them that the most important thing to really spend some time thinking on is, why are you doing this? Why are you playing drums? Why have you chosen that? Why not another instrument? What about the drums? Be real specific about it when you think about it. Try to come up with a very clear, decisive answer as to why you would want to do this. Because drums is a pretty intense instrument to play. It's got some very abstract qualities to it. I mean, you guys saw some of that when you tuned in last night. I'm playing tunes with this group, some of which I've not rehearsed, but all of them I've not rehearsed with them, some of which I've never even heard. And it's just up to me as a drummer to know the styles, to know, how to follow along with the band, know the forms, if you will, like as how the songs are likely to progress, and to know what would be appropriate tones at different times to keep people together rhythmically. It's not just the rhythms you play, but it's the tones you choose, which cymbal you choose, or whether you're on the hi-hat, or whether you turn your snare drum, have the snares on or off. All of those different things come to bear, pun intended, when you're playing. So, and then I'm playing everything last night, not even using drum set charts, but I'm using like sheet music for alto saxophone, and not even the first alto saxophone part. It's the alto saxophone 2, the non-specifically melodic. It's like the harmonies in the saxophone parts. And those aren't necessarily even the main melodies anyway. They're like counter melodies and stuff a lot of times. It's just wild. So all of that required a lot of abstract thinking, a lot of being able to go outside of a box and not have exact rules dictated for you. You have to think in general terms, know principles, and put them all together. I did have a cowbell on that kit, Andrew. I actually had my cowbell mounted last night. I did use it for one of the cha-cha tunes. I don't know if you were able to hear it or if you were there at that time, but I did have that going. But yeah, why did I ask this student, why do you want to play drums? Because if you don't know why, if you don't have a reason behind it, then it's going to be real hard to motivate yourself to get anywhere with it. So I suggested that my reason was to help people be better communicators, right? To encourage communication between people with different instruments, people with different backgrounds, religious or socioeconomic, whatever the case may be, ethnic backgrounds. How you folks doing today? Doing well, getting a good canoe in. Get to share it with people on doing a YouTube live stream. That's one way to keep your day interesting. You guys look like that's a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Man. We all enjoy. I hope you catch something. No kidding. I hope it's worthwhile eating. Good to see folks out here. Usually quite a bit of boats out here on a Saturday. I haven't been out forever, man. I have not been boating for so many weeks, and it feels great to be out here again. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna pull up here and I'm gonna talk about the didgeridoo. I did and failed. You did what? I'm gonna hit back. Andrew said last night he was looking for a cowbell. Yeah, it was totally up in there, man. But it's off on my right hand side on my floor tom. I have a little mounting bracket that attaches to the rim of the floor tom, and yeah, I keep both a cowbell and what they call a jam block on there. Hey, Kodiak, what's happening? Good to see you. Glad you could join us. You know, I might be able to get a shot here of this family of ducks. There's this mama, and she's got about 4 babies, maybe 5. Oh shoot, that's more like 6 or 7 that are following. Hopefully they don't just fly off the second I get close, but they're all huddling over here. See, the place I was gonna stop at is submerged. The water levels are a little bit deep today. And we had quite a bit of rain a while back, and you know, when there's more rain up in the Chicagoland area, that drains all the way right down here into Peoria. So we get flooding regularly. If you're gonna live close to the river, you gotta have a retaining wall to keep yourself from totally getting flooded out. Well, I think it's required that some houses that are in those types of floodplains have flood insurance. They won't sell it to you otherwise. Let's see. Where's Scrooge and Huey, Dewey, and Louie? Oh, those ducks are scattering. Hang on a second. They're out. Hang on. I don't know if you can see them there, but yeah, there's a whole bunch over there. Just about 20, maybe 30 feet away from the boat. There's a lot of sun over reflecting that way. When I drop my phone into the... It's got, my tripod has like spider legs to it. So this when I was a kid, so I developed some sense, and 2 have been in the military for 17 years and been forced to maintain, and it's just, I have no problem saying that about myself. I am kind of a fatty. But it's diminishing. It's certainly dropped down. And that's a good thing. I'm excited about that. So here comes that barge that was coming behind me a while ago. It's finally catching up here. And I'm gonna get a bunch of wake from that sucker. Let's see now. I think what I'm gonna do, actually, is not weigh anchor because I don't have one, but turn around and stop for a minute. Then I'm gonna come right over here. And just sort of settle in the bushes back here for a minute. Somebody's got country radio on from their boat. That's hilarious. Folks be cracking me up. Is that on the shore here? Sounds like it's coming from the shore, but it's hard to tell. Things echo all over the place. Let's see. There we go. That's right. That's right. So we're in the shallows right here. No, not at all. I know exactly where I'm at. In fact, I came from back that way. Just around the bend over there is where the McClugage Bridge is at, where I started from. And then I came up, that's the west side over there of the river. And that's going northerly now. So I'm on the east side of the river, just sort of settled into these bushes here. And the water is really, really shallow here. It's probably only a few inches. So I'm sort of mudded out a little bit, but just appropriately. You know, it's like I can get out of it, no problem. But I wanted to stop here, and I got the noise of the waves, which is real pretty. I wanted to share the Didgeridoo. This is one of my 2 Didgeridoos that I've got. Oh yeah, here's the Canoe. This nice red Coleman Ram X15 that my mom got for my dad for one of his birthdays. I can't remember which. I was probably about 13 or 14. I know that I was into Rush by that point, so I had to be at least 12. But I was probably 13. Moses. Don't let a girl put their lips on this. That'd be pretty inappropriate, I think so. But this one is a little different. You actually put your lips in it, right? There's a mouthpiece here, and your lips go inside, and you buzz like this. So that's a little example of the didgeridoo. There are some masters at that instrument that know how to do what's called circular breathing, where they can exhale, and right at the bottom of their exhale, they have it all up in their cheeks. They're like here. And at the same time, they're sucking air in, like that. So they get this trained, like it's an automatic response. That right at the end, when their breath's about done, because you can't physiologically like breathe in and out at the same time. That's just not possible. So you sort of fake it, and that's what's known as circular breathing. Guys like Kenny G, who's real famous for the soprano saxophone, he can do that. Some other amazing wind players can do stuff like that. I guarantee you, Jeff Coffin, one of the greatest saxophone players of all time, can do that. Jeff Coffin was pretty famous for having worked with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. One of the most ridiculously amazing groups. Victor Wooten on bass, his brother Roy, future man Wooten on drums, guy who created the Synthex drumitar. It was basically the old like synth keyboard guitar thing that they made in the 80s. And he took all the guts out of it, put little rubber pads all over the top of it, and underneath all these rubber pads, he had what they call piezo transducers, or piezo trans. I don't pronounce it. It's essentially what an acoustic guitar pickup is made of. It takes sound vibrations and converts them into electrical signal. So he put those types of things underneath all these little rubber pads that he installed on an old Synthex body, and connected the whole thing into an electronic drum computer. And so now he can trigger electronic drum sounds via like the MIDI or musical instrument digital interface connection, and program each individual pad with a specific sound. Plus, he can do what's called velocity stacking. So the harder he hits it, the different types of sounds will come up. You will get like just a light cymbal hit if you touch a cymbal programmed pad. Just barely tap it. If you hit it harder, you get a louder hit. You get it really hard, you get a crash sound. So he can stack different sounds based on how hard he hits. And he built that. He just created that instrument with a couple people that I guess were electronics experts helped him out. But he had the ideas to do this. Then he went further. This is the drummer from Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, Roy Future Man Wooten. He went and built a piano that instead, I mentioned this before, instead of having a piano keyboard, it had the periodic table of the elements laid out, and each button on there was one of the elements, but it was the resonance frequency or the wavelength of that element transposed like 12 or 13 octaves down into the range of human hearing, so that it created this keyboard of sounds that you won't get on a regular piano. It's like getting the notes in between the notes. It hits all these other little subtle in-between pitches and stuff. So he's creating music based on an Elements keyboard. And it's just, I mean, their brains are somewhere else. And then you've got Bela Fleck, who's an incredible banjo player. I mean, he's done folk stuff and jazz and all sorts of things like that, but he's also played with symphonies, you know, and played classical. It's insane, on banjo. So all of these guys elevated their instruments to higher levels, you know. But Jeff Coffin, yeah, that's a guy who could do circular breathing. Could he play didgeridoo? I don't know. I know there's a guy named Alistair Black, who I guess has some notoriety as a didgeridooist. So I use it as kind of like a wind percussion instrument. It's an interesting duo, but I figured you guys would enjoy that. Well, thank you. I've been trying to pretend how to do it for the last like 5 or 6 years. Man, it's maybe closer to 10. I should be a lot better at it than I am. I don't know if you can see this. The sun is really, really, really bright, but I'll try to get a shot here. They actually, this hole in here, they lined the inside of this mouthpiece with beeswax, and that's supposed to give it a better reverberance from your lips, so you can get more of that slappy, you know, percussive kind of tonality out of it. I don't know how well you can hear the bass tone. Sometimes I can get it where I can do dual pitches. I have drone sound, which is the low pitch, and then I can do the barking stuff over top, but I make that tonal. So interesting things you can do with a didgeridoo. It's kind of a fun instrument, and it's not expensive to get into. This one was about 40 bucks. This one that I've got here. You can get a simple bamboo didgeridoo for about 40, and you have to get dizzy cheeks with it. That's the way you play that sucker, man. But yeah, you can get a simple one, bamboo made, about 40 bucks. But the more professional models are like $300 or $400, even more than that. And they take a branch of a tree, usually a specific kind of wood that's well grown in Australia, Aboriginal tradition of making this. It's even woven into their mythology as to their creation concepts. There was like this giant serpent that helped to create the world in some of their stories from time back, and the didgeridoo was somehow integrated into those stories. I don't remember all of that. Boy, it is dark. It's hard for you guys to see me. I'm gonna move on and start heading back now. And then hopefully with the sun at a different angle, you'll be able to see me better. We'll see. I'm being naughty. Yes, you're right. I didn't see your comment from before. I missed it. I wouldn't have assumed. Although I could, and I'd probably be well within my rights to. I know some of you bears. I know some of you all have dirty minds. But no, Mom, I would not have suspected that. Outright. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, so... they will make a didgeridoo. That's what I was trying to talk about before I got sidetracked on like how it's part of their mythology, because that's what bears do, whereas ADD is fudge. They take a branch of a tree, and then they usually have to hollow it out. So what they do is they'll cover both ends of it, and in one of the ends they'll put some termites, right? And they'll cover that over. Now the termites don't like to be in the sunlight, so they'll stay in the dark. They'll eat a hole straight through the center of that didgeridoo, and through that tree branch, I should say, and stay in the darkness as much as they can. As soon as they feel like it's getting too warm, they'll back off. Then after a few days, they'll clear out termites, and they'll just round out the edges and such, and make them a little nicer. Make the horn end, the sound hole at the far end of the didgeridoo a little more pronounced. They'll paint it decoratively, then they'll glaze it and roast it in a kiln for like 3 days to seal all that artwork on it, and keep the wood all sealed up so that it lasts longer. And then you have yourself a professional quality made didgeridoo. Those probably take a little bit more power to get a good sound out of too, and that's why they usually recommend beginners start on like a bamboo didgeridoo. But you can easily get into playing that, and it doesn't take a whole lot of musical knowledge to do it. You just can get the basics and fundamentals of how to do cool stuff on a digi for about 40 bucks, and it's not a bad deal. Let's see here. So it's going to take me less time to get back than it took me to get out here, because I'm going to be going with the current, going downstream. And I think there's less boat traffic to worry about now. I hope and pray. Once I round this bend, I'll be able to see what's coming. But at any rate, just thought I'd share with you guys what it's like to be out here on the river, share a little didgeridoo. Glad everybody stopped by for a little bit, and it is always wonderful. It's always a blessing to be out here on the water and just relax, especially on a day like Shabbat. That's the way to have your rest for the week. And let me tell you, this week, even though I've been on vacation, was not exactly what you'd call a rest. What is the horn they use in the Alps? It's called an alpine horn, actually. It's a little bit different instrument, but it has some of the same principles. Kind of neat. A lot of different cultures have unique instruments like that they carve, horns or drums. kind of a fun deal. Man. Yeah, just looking to the north here, that's what's awesome to me. Just, I love going further north that way toward Chillicothe and those other towns that are up that way. It's just a blast. Shocker that I would say it's a blast. Love you too, Debbie. Good to see you guys. I'm gonna wrap up and row back. Try to get there as quick as I can. Glad you could come in. That shade, it's hard to see. The screen's getting harder and harder to read. But you bears have a great day, and I will look to seeing you Monday morning, 8 o'clock Central Time. Hope to see you there. Peace, bears.